Acolytes. Reenacting as Kingdom Come Deliverance soldiers. I think it's a crossplay thing. But if it's the Middle Ages, well, I'm interested. I'm in. This looks beautiful. Especially down in the left. The trumpet player. A beauty in his most natural way that you can imagine. Let's start.
Almost exactly 2 years since we started attending events related to Kingdom Come Deliverance with Warhorse, dressed as soldiers from their games. In this video, I'd like to go over these events and share our experiences with you. The first event
I actually didn't know that, and that's actually quite nice. And this isn't Kingdom Come Deliverance soldiers, those are the Witcher soldiers. If maybe I missed something or misremember, but nope, this looks like the Witcher.
event where we met the developers from Warhorse was Game Access 2022, where we went dressed as Nilfgaardian soldiers.
Yep.
We didn't know that
yep.
Warhorse devs would be there. We originally went to meet the devs from CD Projekt, which is why we wore costumes from The Witcher. However, Warhorse devs were almost more excited about us than people from CD Projekt, and they told us that if they ever needed people in armor, they would reach out to us.
Nice.
Since the Game Access organizers were happy with us, they invited us a year later in the spring of 2023 to Prague O2 Universum for a live concert of Kingdom Come Deliverance soundtrack, which they also organized. We put together a red and white costume.
I am so envy. I love art, no matter if it's drawn or musical art. Damn, I would be so happy if this happened. Just to sit down there and just hear it, how the magic is done. Damn.
Costumes to represent Talmberg soldiers, along with some civilian outfits of villagers. We were there along with the reenactment group Doba Karlova, which has been working with Warhorse for a long time. The event was great success, and after the meet and greet session we even took a photo with the actors and developers. The highlight of the event for us was when we were standing in front of the O2 building waiting for the rest of our group, and Jan Valta, who conducted the entire concert, joined us for a brief chat. The next event took place a year later in the spring of 2024. It was actually like a week after the announcement for KCD2, so the hype was real. This time it was a concert by the Film Philharmonic Orchestra, which usually performs film soundtracks, but has recently started doing concerts of soundtracks from video games as well. Cosplayers are...
Oh my... No, Acolytes, I'm not a big fan of operas. I love the instruments, by the way, every single one of them, because if they are played correctly, especially if you mix it in with a bit of metal. But... game music opera. This sounds effing sick.
Are often invited to these concerts, and a few of our friends had...
I need those people. I just realized. I will resurrect them and have my own opera acolytes. It's of course for the good of everyone. For mine, especially. And these crossplays are freaking awesome.
Previously attended one featuring film music, dressed as characters from Pirates of the Caribbean. Because of that, they were invited again for this video game concert. They created costumes for Henry and Hans, while Moritz and I once again wore our Talmberg soldier outfits. We knew that the orchestra would be performing a few tracks from the Kingdom Come Deliverance soundtrack, which is why we chose these costumes. However, we had no idea that people from Warhorse would also be attending. So I was quite surprised when we ran into Toby right in the foyer, and even more so when the announcer mentioned that Jan Valta and Dan Vavra were in the audience as well. During the intermission, we took...
Oh, for fuck's sake, Tom Daniel. Why? If he just shut up. Now there is a stain on Kingdom Come Deliverance just because the guy couldn't shut the F up. It's incredible. People should just, for F's sake, learn that not everybody is an influencer. If you make a video game, just talk about the video game.
Took the opportunity to get a photo with them. The whole event was fantastic, and hearing Saint Barbara theme performed live was truly something special. Another cool thing was that the soundtrack for both Kingdom Come Deliverance games was recorded at Rudolfinum, where this concert took place. One of the episodes of the official live-action series with Tom and Luke even focuses on the KCD soundtrack, and the whole episode was filmed at Rudolfinum. So it was cool to see Tom and Luke in the same places where we had been just a few months earlier in our KCD costumes. I should also mention that it was at this event when we decided to make even more and better costumes from KCD. Some of my subscribers had been asking me for a while if I would start making videos about KCD, and when Warhorse announced KCD 2, it reignited my hype for the game, making me think about potential video ideas. Eventually, I came up with the idea of creating a video series on how to make some costume from KCD, and it was at that concert in Rudolfinum when I shared this idea with Moritz, and we started discussing which costume we should make. I don't remember.
That's interesting, actually. Fantastic. I am always happy if somebody gets inspired by stuff like this.
Remember exactly how we came to that decision, but we eventually decided to start making costumes of Ratai soldiers. That brings us to the next KCD event we attended, which actually took place a few months later in Ratai. It was a KCD fan community gathering, and since we had only just decided to make Ratai soldier costumes and hadn't even started working on them yet, we had to wear our Talmberg soldier costumes again. One thing I didn't like about this event was that most people there didn't have very good costumes, but that's unfortunately a classic issue at medieval events in the...
Come on, man. Not everybody can afford freaking high-tier costumes or... No, you don't even have to be that expensive with it. Or people just didn't give a fuck. That could also be.
The Czech Republic. I might make a video about it sometime, because it really annoys me how these types of people have started showing up at events based on KCD, which is a game that often emphasizes the importance of historical accuracy.
It could also be that people just cannot afford it or didn't have time or just went... a lot of the times there are just people who are, hey, I'm interested in this, I want to wear a costume, but I don't want to go over budget. So the first time is just shitty. That could also be the case. Or it's just pure laziness. It could always be lazy.
But let's move on. We ran into Toby again, so we chatted for a bit. He and the organizer of this event invited us to Kuttenberg Silvering, which was just a week later. We also took a look inside Bergstein Castle, which looks rather neglected today. When we were leaving the event, we also made a stop at the ruins of Talmberg. We figured that since we were dressed as soldiers from this castle, we should visit it while we were so close. I had just finished the first KCD at the time, and when we got back to my apartment to change out of our costumes, we went through the same locations in the game that we had just visited in real life. And I have to say, it was such a surreal yet amazing experience to compare the real life locations with their in-game counterparts almost immediately after we've been there. A week later, we headed to the Kuttenberg Silvering, where we were invited to join the royal procession under the banner of Warhorse in our Talmberg soldier costumes. I don't have any of my own photos or videos from this event. For some reason, I just didn't feel like filming. Silvering is unfortunately one of those events where people wear terrible costumes that have...
I'm gonna be honest. You cry about the costumes, but you're not even you don't give enough shit to actually film this? What the fuck? Now you should understand why people are lazy. And you literally have a freaking YouTube channel based around it. And you're actually making money out of it. So yeah. Understand that people are lazy. You yourself also did it.
Nothing to do with the Middle Ages. Most medieval festivals organized by Czech cities are unfortunately run by people who have this romanticized idea of the Middle Ages from the 90s, so most of their costumes look like something out of a low-budget fairy tale. The only ones who had well-made and good-looking costumes were the reenactors from Doba Karlova. We talked to Toby in advance and he agreed that we could play dice with visitors at the...
So wait, was the problem that the costumes were bad? Or they didn't fit the time? Because yes, just because, I will agree, Clinical Deliverance is historically very accurate. And I love it because of this. But I won't shame people that have fun with different costumes. I'm not expecting somebody to freaking buy or make an extra costume for one event if the rest of the year you're just visiting fantasy things. And you're harping on this point as if this is a world-ending thing, for F's sake. Just let people have fun.
Which turned out to be a success. A lot of people stayed just for that, and we had a great time ourselves. We found from other Witcher-related events we attended over the years that Liar's Dice in particular is something people really enjoy. Even Toby admitted afterward that he was skeptical when we first suggested it, but after seeing how much fun everyone had, he understood why it worked so well. Over the summer, we worked on the costumes for the Ratai soldiers. We chose 2 types and based our costumes on them. It was meant to be a foundation we could build upon, but in the end we had to change our plans. Originally, we thought it would be great to have a sort of base in Ratai where we could organize events for fans of KCD and set off on marches around the area. The only somewhat preserved medieval site in Ratai is Bergstein Castle. The upper castle was rebuilt over the centuries and it's just too modern looking for the medieval period. So we met with the guy in charge of Bergstein and offered to help him maintain the castle and occasionally host events for the fans of KCD. Our idea was to organize an event there just before the release of KCD 2. Since the first KCD ends with Henry and Hans departing with a group of Ratai soldiers for Trotsky, our event would essentially serve as a send-off for this company from Ratai. This would tie in perfectly with the beginning of KCD 2, which starts with their arrival to Trotsky. So when attendees of our event would later play KCD 2, they would feel as if they were seamlessly continuing the story of the event they've just visited. However, the guy in charge of Bergstein basically told us that he and his family live there and value their privacy. So while he would let us organize a one-time KCD event there, he wasn't really interested in a long-term collaboration.
Fair enough. Totally fair enough. I understand. It's cool to have such a thing once, but done. Yeah, fair enough.
So we decided to change our plans a bit and head to Trotsky in our costumes at the end of summer, and this time we had much better luck. We met with the castle warden and she was quite excited about our proposal, but...
And by the way, if they do everything correctly and the people behave normally, there is always a possibility that the guy will agree to a second one, as long as everything goes smooth. And then it could be, it doesn't have to be a yearly event, it could be every 2 years, 3 years. Yearly would be, of course, optimal, especially in such a beautiful place, but hey, the freaking doors are open. Negotiation can begin, acolytes.
I'll tell you more about that at the end of the video, where I'll talk more about the future KCD events. During November, we met with Toby at the Warhorse offices. He
Holy
also
shit.
introduced us to Matěj, who is in charge of some of the KCD events organized by Warhorse. We discussed some of our ideas for a potential KCD event that our group could organize. Toby and Matěj also invited us to GDS Prague, which took place a few weeks later in December. This was another great event where we spent 2 days in our costumes with the Warhorse devs at the KCD booth. GDS Prague is a conference mainly focused on game design students and developers, so it's not open to the general public. But I met my friends from Atu Games there who were presenting Scarlet Deer Inn at the event, which was a pleasant surprise. Once again, we spent most of our time playing dice with visitors. The funny part was that when we arrived at the KCD booth the next morning, Matěj told us that some students had already been asking, "Will the gentleman who played dice with us yesterday be here again today?" So once again we got confirmation that playing dice is a hit with people. Even Matěj admitted, much like Toby before him, that he was skeptical about the idea initially, but was pleasantly surprised by how much people enjoy playing dice. During the event, I also had my first chance to play KCD2. It was just a short demo from the start of the game where you have to brew a healing potion for Hans at Božena's place. As I was gathering herbs, I naturally started looking around.
Nice, I remember that quest. Nice.
And I got really hyped when I saw Trotsky in the distance. We also got another opportunity to take a photo with Dan, and then I attended his talk on how Warhorse approaches UI design, which was really interesting. Before we left the event, Matěj introduced me to Petra, who works for Smarty, which is basically the Czech equivalent of GameStop. Petra was looking for people to take part in filming a trailer for KCD2, both as extras in medieval costumes and also to lend other costumes to Czech influencers who were supposed to be the main attraction of the trailer. Filming that trailer was an interesting experience. It was great but also quite demanding because we were shooting all day from early afternoon until late at night in the Malešov fortress, which was freezing and couldn't be just quickly warmed up overnight. So even though there were fires burning and heaters running between takes, a lot of people still ended up getting sick, especially our friend Petra, who was wearing full plate armor and jokingly described it as a portable refrigerator.
I understand that one. But that's why you were extra close under it. Because a castle like that, if you want to have it warm before you start filming, 2 days. 2 days of just warming it up, then it's fine.
But for me personally, the discomfort was worth it. Before filming started, we took this photo inspired by the main artwork of KCD2. Agraelus, who is probably the biggest streamer in the Czech Republic, joined us as well. In total, there were about 10 influencers who we had to help get dressed in medieval costumes. The idea behind the video concept was to film Henry's antics from a first-person perspective, just as you would see them in the game. It was also somewhat inspired by the music video for Smack My Bitch Up by The Prodigy. I think the result turned out great. Here is the final short video.
Kamošu, nejdřív prachy, pak jídlo. Co to všechno může ten prašivej zetník?
No to bych se podepsal, kdybych ho měl psát. Ty se zbláznil snad.
Heges,
No já to nebyl, vidíš, ne?
Jídlo do prdele, kurva, to je moje poslední! Hej!
Svině!
Himmel, Herrgott, Donnerwetter, kluci. Na co si tady hrajete? Tady! Zažiješ ten pravý středověk.
And now let's
Looks
get to
nice.
the biggest event, the release of KCD2. We attended the autograph signings featuring Tom McKay, Luke Dale, Dan Vavra and Toby. We chose costumes of Bergov soldiers for this occasion, which turned out to be a funny coincidence because one of our tasks was taking photos with people in a photo booth that had Trotsky as the background. Both events were packed with people and had crazy long lines, so the whole thing lasted about 8 hours. I could barely walk the next day after standing for 8 hours in a mail shirt and medieval boots on a hard floor.
8 hours. Medieval boots. Level up, bitch.
But it was worth it. I now have my KCD2 Collector's Edition signed, and in the end we even got a group photo with Tom, Luke, Dan and Toby. Our last event took place at Malešov, a location I know well from past visits with the Czech Witcher fan community. In fact, it was at Malešov where I first met the Nazir Brigade during a joint photoshoot. However,
nice.
this was my first time there since finishing KCD2 and experiencing the missions set around Malešov, which gave the visit a fresh perspective. The event was packed with people as it was the first gathering since the game's release. The Czech voice actors for Henry and Hans were there and fans stood in line all day to meet them. Our friends once again cosplayed as Henry and Hans while the rest of us wore various soldier costumes, either from Bergov's or Rudhard's forces. It was a fitting choice for Malešov given that Rudhard owns the fortress in the game, but Bergov's men have taken.
Wait, is this Shed up there? No, that's a guy that just looks like him. If you don't know, a guy from, it's called Shadowverse? I always forget the name. As always, acolytes. He actually does really good things with presenting the weapons and how they actually function and how to fight correctly. Does really good work. I just think it went from factual to more entertainment-based things, and since then it always had a hint of entertainment in it, but right now it's more entertainment. It's still factual, by the way, but it's just not the same as at the start. And he cries a bit too much about freaking losing money and such, but because at the end of the day, acolytes, nobody cares about it. It's just, if you have to do what you have to do, then do it. Just entertain people. You can say that you're not feeling good at some point. Yeah, that's fine, but just don't be a bitch.
Taken control of it. Finishing this video took me so long that in the meantime we attended yet another event.
Damn.
It was Prague Comic Con where KCD fans got the chance to try out the upcoming DLC. We were there once again playing dice with visitors. It was kind of funny playing with cosplayers from other well-known universes. I even met a few fans of my channel there, which was awesome, and I really enjoyed chatting with them. At one point even a robot came over to us, so we played cards with it. And since there was another meet and greet with the Czech voice actors for Henry and Hans, we took a photo with them and Toby again. The next event we'll be attending is actually one we are organizing ourselves. It's the Summer KCD event at Trotsky, where we'll be representing Bergov's soldiers, obviously. I'd say this is the one I'm looking forward to the most. Warhorse is also planning their own KCD event for fans at Malešov, where we are expected to participate as well, but I don't have many details on that yet. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a video about the other events as well. To wrap things up, I want to give a huge thanks to the entire Warhorse team for creating such an incredible game, and specifically to Toby and Matej for allowing us to be part of its promotion, while also bringing more visibility to Reenactment. Big shout out to Petr from Smarty as well, he's truly a solid guy. I'm also really grateful to my friends who are willing to invest their time and money into making functional costumes inspired by KCD.
Fair enough. It's a hobby. It's a very, very hard hobby to actually... What the fuck is wrong with this guy? This just took me out. It's... Zes, kurwa mać.
And last but not least, a massive thank you to my cousin Vitek, who works as a concept artist at Warhorse and has helped
Of course. Nepotism again. But hey, it works for them. Entertaining video.
us multiple times when we needed to get in touch with someone from the studio. I hope
For fuck's sake, if this is your cousin, make a better photo of him. He looks a bit off here. It's as if he actually just took something. This guy looks fine, but he looks off. I don't know what it is. I think it's the angle. Damn,
someone from the
poor guy.
studio. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Nice video. As you've seen already. Well, good. Fair enough. I think customs are porn historically accurate. They're not America or idea of medieval. Fair enough. Fair enough. But yes, the criticism of the costumes, I agree, was very bad. I just think that a lot of people suffer from it, by the way, with the historical accuracy. You are arguing on different grounds. It may be true for your thing or the country you live in, but not in a different one. So you always have to, well, basically think about that. But hey, irrelevant. Otherwise, the video was actually quite interesting. Not even gonna... Well, fair enough. Good night, acolytes.